We are live. Welcome back, everybody, to another post-game reactions here on Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, and we just witnessed history in the making for the Boston Celtics. They just got their best record, or their best win in franchise history by winning at halftime, the most points scored ever total in halftime, and have 50-win games on the season this year, in which in their franchise history, they've had a total of 3 of them before this. This is absolutely amazing for this Celtics squad as they get revenge in their game versus the Golden State Warriors at home versus the team that beat them in the 2022 NBA Finals. And they absolutely throttled this team, 140-88 on the home court. Jaylen Brown came out fantastic for this squad, dominating in the first quarter as he was left alone on basically an island from Draymond Green and everybody else. The Boston Celtics also had fantastic performance from Jason Tatum on his birthday, and even some stellar performances from some bench players as well. We saw Peyton Pritchard go absolutely off, attacking and making some tough finishes as well at the rack that have Celtics fans ecstatic. Also, Al Horford, big performance. Xavier Tillman getting some more run and looking like he truly is the next version of Al Horford. Getting to see some more Luke Kornet minutes. And they did this. Let's not forget to mention, they did this all without Kristaps Porzingis in tonight's matchup. That was absolutely fantastic. We saw Jaylen Brown get to control and lead this offense without his main tandem duo member, and he clearly shows that Jaylen Brown needs to stay on this roster to be a top piece. We're going to be diving and looking at all of that and more on this live stream. What's up, everybody? Sorry to get through the little intro here, but I just want to know your guys' thoughts and opinions as well. Let me know in the comment section down below your guys' post-game reactions as we get to them. Jacob Genesis says first and says that 23-point run pretty much ended the game exactly. The Boston Celtics obviously were in a close matchup at 21 points tied after that, but the Celtics went on an absolute insane run, outscoring the Warriors 60-something to 17 going into halftime, and that clearly just took us over that hump. Obviously, the Warriors didn't come out with their starters in the start the third quarter. The Celtics did for the first 5 minutes to get them in some usage, but then when we saw at around the 7-minute mark at the third quarter, we obviously saw the bench come out. We're looking like a championship team, says Coffee and Donuts. I truly think so. I know that we've had these championship aspirations over the last couple seasons, and it's truly looked like that the Celtics could have been a team pushing for that title. We obviously saw that versus that Warriors team 2 years ago, and last year we looked like that title contending team. But we had a little bit of issues on the offensive-defensive side. Adding Kristaps Porzingis, adding Jrue Holiday, who in my personal opinion is just a better version of Marcus Smart, who can hit his three-pointers, which is sad to say as Marcus Smart was my favorite Celtic. But just adding that extra layer of that to our offensive game and defensive game gives us those numbers. Adding Kristaps Porzingis for that versatility, even though we didn't get to see him today, he's truly an X factor. And like I said, with no Kristaps Porzingis, we got to see some great performances from guys like Luke Kornet, like Xavier Tillman, that got to keep us in these games. We got some more comments from Kamar Porter. What's up, Bruce? We are the team. I'm so proud of this season. I'm so ecstatic as well, Kamar. I really think that we are the team to beat. They were saying that on the ESPN podcast. Richard Jefferson was proclaiming that the Boston Celtics need to be in that mindset that they are the team to beat, even though the Nuggets won the championship last season, that they are still the top team. And I truly think they are playing with that momentum and they're playing with that feeling. And Jaylen Brown wanted that payback tonight versus this Warriors squad. Scott says absolutely a statement win to the rest of the NBA. They have to be put on notice, especially with all the media talk as well, Scott. We've seen from Twitter, at least, I don't know if you're on Twitter that much, but we see a lot of discourse of how, Jason Tatum gets carried. Jason Tatum's not this great player. Jason Tatum, doesn't deserve to be in these MVP conversations. But when the Celtics lose and the players don't perform that well, we see the slander on Jaylen Brown, see the slander on Kristaps Porzingis. Derek White's not an all-star-esque type player. It seems like the narrative is just both ways to hate on the Boston Celtics, and truly tonight, with everybody excelling from top to bottom on the list, from guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to even Jaden Springer and Xavier Tillman, looking like they could be, key pieces for this team in the future, that is something that I'm excited to see to prove all the haters wrong. Colby Reed, could this be a sign of the Warriors are done? We've seen the Warriors, personally, I'm not the biggest Warriors fan, even before when the Celtics played the Warriors in the NBA Finals. I never really liked the Warriors going back to their first really finals runs versus LeBron James, but I think that the Warriors are, not done necessarily. I still think they're going to be competing for this play-in. The Western Conference is still, a competitive race. I still think that they'll be in that mix, but clearly they can't match up against teams like the Boston Celtics if a guy like Steph Curry is getting locked down like he did by the Boston Celtics. We saw Jaylen Brown, everybody from the starting five necessarily, attacking Steph Curry on the defensive side of the ball and making sure that he got no opportunities. And that's what led to the Celtics' success. Them being able to stop Steph Curry on the defensive side of the ball and be able to attack him and make sure that he had no offensive chances at all really led this team to believe in themselves and get hyped up. We saw that from Jaylen Brown when he forced Steph Curry on that backcourt violation. He was clapping, getting his hands ecstatic. And as a Celtics fan, for me, you want to see that energy. You want to see that passion from these Celtics players, especially when they're competing against these guys that they've had rivalries with and mix-ups with in the past in the Golden State Warriors. Kamar says, I think taking Zing out today confused the Warriors. Exactly. They probably game planned to play alongside of him, expected him to be an X factor, but truly tonight, the Celtics showed that even without Kristaps Porzingis, they still are a dominant team. This team is on fire and ecstatic. We're going to look at some of the stats and break this down for you guys as well. If you want to look at all of that, we can look at the team stats here, and we can see that the Boston Celtics are absolutely killed it tonight versus the Golden State Warriors. Absolutely shooting phenomenal from the field at 55%, shooting 50% from three compared to the Warriors 17, which was god awful for them. Outscoring them in the free throw percentage as well at 81%, out-rebounding them 50-45. Yes, they got more offensive rebounds, and the Celtics do tend to slacken that offensive rebound department, but the Celtics, a team who does struggle in the turnover department, excelled today at controlling the ball. They had one turnover in total in the whole first half with the starters playing. Obviously, with the bench unit guys, some of the end unit guys, you're going to expect a little bit more turnovers. So the Warriors having 10 more turnovers than the Celtics was a big, big X factor. And the Celtics, like I mentioned, staying locked in and wanting to play that defensive side of the ball and being hustle players on that side really did the Boston Celtics a favor. If we want to look at their stats, we can see a complete, perfect game from everybody, top to bottom on this roster. Everybody besides Jaden Springer, unfortunately, with a plus ratio of at least +1. Even Smee Mihailuk, a guy who barely gets any run, still got 19 minutes to play, 3 for 8 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3 with 8 total points. That's fantastic. Peyton Pritchard, oh my god, looking like he can be, this controlling point guard for this team and being a true X factor as the backup point guard. 8 for 12 from the field. He started to miss some late on the game, but he started off hot, 7 for 7, 3 for 5 from three-point range with 6 total rebounds, 6 total assists, and 2 steals and 19 points, plus 17, clicking on all the margins and being that effective point guard for the Celtics, especially with getting an increased minute load. Even O'Shea Brissett, yes, he shot 3 for 7 from the field, but 7 defensive rebounds for a total of 8 with 2 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block, bringing that energy. And even late in the game, he was one of the guys that was throwing down these dunks in the fourth quarter on the fast break and playing with that hustle, playing with that energy. And as a Celtics fan, you want to see those stay-ready guys be ready to embrace that. Even in a 50-point blowout, this team was a well-oiled machine. Sam Hauser, we had some quotes today talking about his shooting rhythm and getting into his spots and stuff. He played great as well. 4 for 9 from the field, 12 total points, and a plus 30, clearly showing he's excelling on the defensive side. And like I mentioned, Xavier Tillman, day by day, looking more and more like our great Al Horford. 2 for 4 from the field, 4 total rebounds. He knows where to be in the right position, knows where to make the right plays. Hit his first 3 for the Celtics as well, looking like a stretch big. And like I mentioned, Jaylen Brown dominated the first quarter, absolutely tore it off on the Warriors in the first 5 minutes as they completely disrespected him on that defensive side of the ball. Derek White doing everything he can, locking in on both sides, offensive and defensively, hitting those threes when the Celtics need them the most, 4 for 5 in total. Drew Holiday being a menace absolutely on the defensive side of the floor and still cashing in on 1-3 himself. Al Horford, another guy that is a stay-ready guy, ready to take that momentum, take that leap for the Celtics, becoming a big force. And of course, Jason Tatum on his birthday, celebrating it the best way possible, notching 27 total points. And like I mentioned, the Golden State Warriors had a bunch of doo-doo performances. Steph Curry, 2 for 13 from the field, 0 for 9 from 3 with 4 total points. And that is because the Celtics excelled on that defensive side of the floor and made sure to clamp him up, sending multiple guys over the screen, under the screen, making sure they were trailing and following him around with Drew Holiday, with Derek White, with Jaylen Brown. Having all those defensive guys being on that pressure did wonders for this team. And like I mentioned, the Celtics made history tonight, guys, as they are fantastic. The winning streak is now standing at 11 games. This tweet is from Jay King, by the way. They won their last 5 by an average of 30 points per game, which is just blasphemous to see out of one of the best offensive teams, but not just to mention one of the best defensive teams in the NBA as well. There was a stat today on ESPN that showed four teams that have finished in the top 5 of offensive and defensive were the 2022 Celtics and 2 championship Warriors teams. So the Celtics are in some elite company with those squads as well. If we want to keep looking and diving in, showing you how great that they are as well, we can see that this was the Celtics' third 50-point win of the season, and the franchise had only done this 3 previous times before this, which is just absolutely bonkers to see. I was personally at the 50-point game versus the Indiana Pacers early on in the season, which was a fantastic win. Obviously, they were without Tyrese Halliburton, but the Celtics being able to put up these type of historical numbers and do these type of historical things is just absolutely fascinating, even this late into the season as well. I'm a true fan of this Celtics squad. Very, very ecstatic to see how great they can finish off the season, and I'm very, very ecstatic to see how it looks. Like I mentioned, the largest lead halftime in NBA history for the Celtics, and the Celtics were tied 21-21 with 6 minutes left remaining in the first quarter, but Boston ended the first half on a 61-17 run to lead Golden State by 44 at halftime. Ended up finishing the game, almost beating them by a total of 60 points, 140-118. Now, this is absolutely a power move for this Celtics squad and truly shows that they are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference and in total the NBA. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Sorry, I was on the thing. We're going to get back to some more comments. We see that I was really happy to see Springer score and the whole team had points. Absolutely love this. Bruce Scott, same here. I love to see the team getting involved. We've seen with past Celtics teams, we've seen with, some older teams in the past couple of years, a little bit more ISO ball, a little bit, wanting to score, wanting to get their numbers. But this Celtics team right here is absolutely doing everything they can to make sure that they ensure a championship comes to the team. They know that their opportunity is right now, having all their contracts being close to the luxury tax as well. Next year, obviously, we're going to have to extend Drew Holiday, extend Jason Tatum, extend Derek White. So there are going to be some money moves that the Celtics are going to have to make. And by making sure that they win this title right now, could maybe ensure some, possible pay cuts from some of these veteran guys that the Celtics have if they want to ensure winning long-term with this squad. Coach is making sure KP is 100% for Thursday versus the Nuggets. I totally agree, coffee and donuts. I do think that questionable play by Dante Exum definitely was the reason he sat out. I don't think he was totally hurt necessarily, but I think him nurturing and making sure that injury doesn't get tweaked and more messed up is the best mode for the Boston Celtics, especially with the game coming up on Tuesday versus the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. They have a abundance of, great bigs in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So the Celtics might need to use Kristaps Porzingis in that matchup as well, having, a double big matchup with Al Horford. But maybe even Xavier Tillman and Luke Kornet can show us some nice action and show us some great prowess because they truly have been fantastic for this squad and showed that tonight as well. Luke Kornet, maybe not the greatest tonight, but had some, great rim protection, great rim blocking, and put up on a fantastic, pretty decent matchup against Trace Jackson Davis. Jaylen has been on fire, Colby Reed, exactly. Ever since that All-Star break, he has been one of the best players on this Celtics roster. Him and Drew Holiday have really, really tuned it up. I know that Jaylen Brown has at least 18 points, I believe, in his last 4 or 5 matchups in the first half, which is just absolutely insane to hear. And it's something that you don't see a lot of the mass media talking besides Celtics, or even people on Twitter or just casuals really talking about, because we all know as Celtics fans, the mass media wants to portray an image that Jaylen Brown can't dribble, Jaylen Brown can't do this, Jaylen Brown can't do that. But Jaylen Brown has excelled in every single way for the Boston Celtics. I saw a stat today that Jaylen Brown has a total of 6 before this game. 6 games where he has over at least 25 points for the Boston Celtics with 0 turnovers, which is just absolutely insane that he's able to pull something off like that off for the Boston Celtics. And let's see if he did something like that for the Celtics tonight. He did have a turnover, unfortunately, but finished the game off with 29 points. 1 turnover for a guy in Jaylen Brown who was crucified for having an abundance of turnovers during the offseason. I truly think that is a win for the Celtics fans and a win for the mass media in general, because Jaylen Brown is growing as a player right in front of our eyes, right in front of us this season. And I truly think that when we get into the playoffs, we run into these struggles and issues, Jaylen Brown is going to be able to overcome them and persevere as a fantastic superstar for this squad. Brad Stevens better take up cigar smoking. He's going to light up a lot of them through the playoffs and for number 18. That's a hilarious thing right there, Scott. I truly agree. I saw a little clip on ESPN of Brad Stevens today while we were watching the game, and personally it was kind of funny to see him just standing there as they came over and panned on him. Little smile, little smirk. Truly expected him to be, jumping in his boots, probably epic and filled with joy after seeing the Celtics come out and really put a statement win here versus the Golden State Warriors, a team that, embarrassed us last time that they were on our home floor, beating us in the NBA Finals. And Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, did not want to see that disrespect today, especially Jason Tatum on his 26th birthday. Wanted to ensure that he was going to get the W and prove everybody wrong today, and he truly did that. Him and Jaylen Brown absolutely excelled. They almost outscored the whole entire Golden State Warriors when they were playing in the third and second quarter. I believe at that one point the Warriors had around 46 total points, where they had combined around 48, which was just absolutely an insane stat to see. Coffee and Donut says the Celtics team is as good as the 2008 team. I really think that they are around that area as well. We've seen a lot of comparisons between this team and that 2008 team, and I also think adding, this Kristaps Porzingis-esque type of player just brings that versatility to the squad. Even though we didn't get to see him today, and that kind of, takes that argument out of it, just having that lethal threat of Kristaps Porzingis really has done much. But Drew Holiday basically being an upgrade from Marcus Smart in all respective ways, even though we love Marcus Smart over here. Derek White really excelling as a three-point shooter for the Boston Celtics, but also, an on-ball defender, an on-ball passer, just excelling in every box that we have seen him grow in, especially him knowing probably that he was going to be the starting point guard before Drew Holiday. He knew that mentality. He knew how hard he had to push himself this year, and we can clearly see that in this season. Guys like Jaylen Brown as well. Like we mentioned, we're talking about Jaylen Brown excelling on offense, the Celtics excelling on offense today, but they locked up on defense as well, making sure Steph Curry did absolutely nothing. And Jaylen Brown has made that point proven since the start of the year that him and Jason Tatum have wanted to compete on all defensive team. They want to be all defensive type guys. Jaylen Brown has made it a necessary fact since December to make sure he wants to be guarding the opposing's best player. And tonight he did that, absolutely clamping up Steph Curry on multiple possessions. But also, we got to give credit to the other guys because they did their share on the defensive side as well. Daylight, what is up? How we doing? How is your reactions to this Celtics win as we witness history with the Boston Celtics getting their biggest lead in halftime in NBA, in franchise history, but also just some fantastic things as well. Excelling game from Peyton Pritchard to Xavier Tillman as well. Let's talk a little bit about Xavier Tillman here. If you guys don't know, if this is your guys' first time here checking out this live stream, Xavier Tillman is a guy that I was very high on when the Celtics acquired him at the post-trade deadline. I thought he could kind of transform and mold into this Al Horford type-esque player, and we've kind of seen that. I made a video recently on that, so if you missed that, you guys can check that out as well. But he's been absolutely killer, and we saw him tonight look and show us kind of how he could transform into that Al Horford mold by hitting a big-time three for this Boston Celtics squad. That was the one time that I saw him stretch out a little bit, and I was like, let's go. We've seen the clips in practice. We've seen, him being able to knock down that shot in his past, in his rookie year. So finally that he got that comfortability and got that, experimentation to take that shot, I think truly explodes and shows the Celtics that they have a steal in Xavier Tillman here. We have his bird rights. We're going to be able to keep him, and I truly think he's going to transform into a beautiful front court addition for the future of this Celtics squad. Kane's giving a nice smiley face. Savage win, says KD. I totally agree. This was a statement to the league, a statement to everybody. We just had beat up the Dallas Mavericks as well. On Friday night, we had a stellar performance versus them. The Luka versus Tatum MVP conversations were going back and forth on the casual discourse media, and now Jason Tatum has proven that he can dominate versus a Warriors team who was coming up hot. I know that they haven't been the same Warriors team since the finals when they beat us, but still, it is nice to see beating a team that was on an 8-game road win streak. Scott also says the key now is to have the best record and not lose home court advantage for the playoffs. I truly believe that the Celtics cannot do that. I think the only team that is rivaling the Celtics to even pass them for their home court, because we have such a big gap of 8 games, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I know for a fact the Celtics have already clinched a play-in spot. So even if the Boston Celtics were to lose every single game from the rest of the year to the end of the season, which I don't see happening. But if that were a possibility, the Celtics would still have at least the 10th spot locked in the play-in and would still be able to compete for the playoffs. So truly, I think that this team is totally fine as long as we can keep that home court advantage, as long as we can win these next important games, because this week again has some key games this week. Tuesday, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers, the team that's a rivaling team in the Eastern Conference. They're battling with the Milwaukee Bucks as well to kind of stay afloat and fight for that 2 seed. So that is a big thing for the Celtics to watch out for. They need to get a dominating win and get the series sweep versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then we also have the Nuggets, the team that beat us at home and gave us our first loss on home this year. We have them, which is a impossible finals matchup that the Celtics are going to have to work toward and try to stop Jokic and Aaron Gordon. That'll be a fantastic game that we're going to have to tune into. And then also we have that game versus the Phoenix Suns, who have been struggling a little bit, but they still are a powerful team in this Western Conference. And I still think that with the likes of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they still are a dominant team in the West. So the Boston Celtics definitely need to lock in this next week. Make sure that they can keep this momentum riding, keep pushing hard, and they can stay atop, afloat, and dominate. And if they do this, then they have a little nice easy break. I know they have Portland after that. They have a couple easy games that they could push through. And then that's the case, the Celtics have that home court advantage coming into April. Then we can rest Kristaps Porzingis. We can rest Jaylen Brown. We can rest Al Horford and kind of experiment with some of our other guys like Springer, like Tillman, like Cornette. Kind of figure out what their role is for this playoff rotation and kind of figure out what kind of lineups we want to run depending upon different matchups. I think a guy like Xavier Tillman could be heavily prioritized in smaller ball lineups, in lineups that the Celtics are going to utilize that, where Luke Cornette, I feel like, is a big that the Celtics will use to kind of do the Cornette core test and be a little bit more of a blocking type big, playing him against the taller and lengthier guys across the NBA. So obviously that adds a little bit of, element of surprise. I think O'Shea Brissett, I know he got some run tonight. He could be a guy, if he's showing this energy and showing this hustle, he could be a guy pushing for a late even rotation playoff spot depending on some matchups. So ultimately, I think the Celtics are totally okay. I think they are set up for success, and we just witnessed tonight history, and that makes me ecstatic as a guy who still is butthurt, of course, after losing the finals versus the Golden State Warriors. Seeing the Celtics come out and putting on a statement win versus Stephen Curry today was absolutely masterclass and one of my favorite things to watch as a Boston Celtics fan this season. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this post-game live stream here as we broke down the Celtics post-game reactions. I want to thank everybody that texted in the chat. Kamar, Kobe, Coffee and Donuts, Scott, Daylight, Kane, KD, Jacob. I want to say shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for engaging. Thank you guys for discussing and talking and breaking down these Boston Celtics post-game reactions. If you guys enjoy content like this, if this is your first time here checking out the channel, make sure to check out all the other Celtics content that we upload. We have videos, we have shorts, and we even do post-game lives breaking down stuff like this. I also want to start some more live streams breaking down weekly stuff, maybe even doing some calls, maybe doing some chats with some of you guys. So if that interests you, let me know in the comment section down below if you go enjoy the live streams. If this is something that you want to make sure is a staple of Celtics Digest, let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in as the Celtics absolutely throttle the Golden State Warriors on this Sunday afternoon, 140-88. I am ecstatic. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you guys so much for tuning into this live stream. We gave Jason Tatum the best birthday gift, and he gave us the best thing as fans, a W as well.